Hey guys, this is Akshat from Neptune Software. Thank you for being here. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our Neptune DXP Planet 8, which is our SAP based platform. I would quickly take you to our cockpit as you see on your screen. This is our cockpit, a central place to deploy applications, develop them all within the same environment. It's a designer, got everything to handle security, to build tiles, add tiles to Launchpad, build mobile clients, authentication, the list goes on and on. But first things first, let's go and look at our installation into our SAP backend. I would like to highlight here is we are a platform for ABAPers, made by ABAPers, as we work with usual classes which ABAPers have been working on all the time, but we work with OData and REST APIs too. So any means of backend communication can be used for your application logic, and all that can be easily done. First things first, let's take a look at the installation. You can see here is ABAP is a simple add-on. It takes a basis guy only about 30 to 45 minutes. We sit in NetWeaver stack, so you don't need to worry about any RFC connections as such. You just import this transport, and it takes almost just 30 to 45 minutes to deploy this. And once you have the developer role assigned, you will see everything in the tree like this. So you have the designer, the cockpit, the launchpad, everything in here. So from that point, the developer has a choice to be in GUI and manage, develop all applications, classes from GUI. But we also have the browser experience as I was just showing to you. Let's quickly take a look at the class builder, which we rely on mainly for our backend communication. Let's take the classic example of flights. So what makes Neptune work? I would like to show you this interface which we use to enable any class in your system which you have been developing for ages. You can enable it for Neptune by just adding this interface in there quickly. And what this interface does is it brings with it these 6 methods basically. The main being here is the handle on Ajax. Let me go to this quickly, and I would like to show what that does. So what this does is via Ajax ID, it's just a simple term to call these underlying methods in the classes. So these methods can be anything, your classic methods. Let's go into this and see what it is. So in here you can see, right, it's a simple BAP call, and it's populating an internal table and passing on to our front-end application logic. So I will show it to you quickly when we start with the application development, how we utilize these methods via Ajax ID. So I hope I have cleared this backend communication quickly. Let's move on to our application development side, and we can do this on the browser end. Moving on to the browser, as you must have noticed, this was the cockpit which I was just going through in the introduction. Let's go to our designer. Neptune gives you unmatched architectural flexibility. Layout of this drag and drop designer is pretty much identical between our GUI based and this designer. When you start designing, you just drag and drop from the left UI5 controls from this point to this point where your application builds. And then you start building the applications, and you can activate it and see the design preview right away in this 3rd column. And on the right hand side, on the 4th column, you have the attributes which you can play around with, and you can set them as and when you want it. So the best advantage is you can see the application built right in front of your eyes as you progress through it. So let's start with the quick application development. I will give it a name like Neptune US demo. The best part about Neptune is you don't have to fiddle around by downloading the applications, moving through the layers by asking some other teams to move it, as you can utilize the very same SAP infrastructure in here. You can assign the same packages which you have in your underlying systems, and the same workbench transports through which you transport your objects, any ABAP objects, so that application should be seamlessly transported through different dev, queue, production, such layers seamlessly. So let's save this. And now our application is saved, as you can see. Let's start assigning the class which we just saw in our backend. I will just take the very same class. It will show you all the classes which are Neptune enabled from your backend, and if you provide a RFC connection to some gateway system, for example, it should also show you the classes from there. So now we have provided the class, we just save this, and now we are good to use the class. Now let's start quickly with the development. So normally in today's world we have master detail kind of templates or applications, like you display, for example, a purchase order on the master side and then details on the details side. So Neptune has something called code snippets, which gives you a head start in building the applications quickly. So let's take a master detail kind of split app kind of example in here. I will just activate this, and then in the preview section we can see the output right away. So let's see the preview. As you can see, on the master side there is some list to be populated, and on the detail side you can see that the details would be populated once we have the master side populated. So let's start assigning some values to it quickly. On the master side, I will bind it to my internal table from the backend. So as you can see, it shows you all the internal tables. I will take IT flights, and this is the place which I was talking about. You need to provide your Ajax ID or the method name. So I will provide the very same get flights. Let's bind some values quickly to it. So in intro, I will bind it to airline. In number, I will bind it to connection ID. As we don't have items in here, let's give it flights. And in title, I will give it to airline ID, let's say, and I activate this, and you should be able to see all the values populating on the master side right away here. You don't have to worry about any other bindings in here, as you have already done from the drag and drop designer and just selected some values to it. So as you can see, the values are flowing right away here. So as you must have noticed that I have not coded a single line of code, and at the very same time I have leveraged all the ABAP capabilities without much going into JavaScript. Now let's start deploying this application quickly on a mobile platform. How to do that? Let me show you quickly what we are trying to achieve here. So this is my mobile screen, and I will open a Neptune Launchpad. So this is a Neptune Launchpad. As you can see, you have a pretty nice picture in here. You can place your background pictures for your organizations or your logos for your organization. So all that can be pretty easily done. You can have all kind of authentications, like in this case you can see I have the fingerprint and the pin code based authentication in here. So I can do any such authentication quickly. Let me go into this, and we will see some apps being displayed here. As you can see, it is very easy to deploy all these apps quickly by creating tiles on this mobile platform. So let's deploy our app on this quickly. I will show you how to do that. Let's start with the policies. So policy is a first step in the security side. Let me go to this one quickly, and in here you will be able to see that we have three options of creating a policy. We can do that by a role, we can do that by a user, and we can do that even by adding a function module to it. So what this does, it pulls in all your backend already existing roles and authorizations in here. So you can assign a tile or an app to certain user quickly, and you don't need to bother about creating new policies, authorizations for certain kind of apps. You can do that quickly in here, or you can do that by just user. For example, some of the tiles should be enabled for only certain set of users, so you can do that even by user, or even by function module. Some application logic, if you want to write for authorizations, you can do that too. So all that can be done in policies. Moving on to create a tile. So tile is nothing but in where you create your tile for the app, as I was just doing. So in here you just provide a description, the title, if you want to hide it on desktop. If it's just a mobile based application, you can do that. If it's not a mobile based and just desktop based application, you can do that too. You can assign layout, you can give background images in there, and then in the action tab you provide your application name. So in this case we have something called Neptune_US_demo, which is the application we just created. I will give that name in here. However, this is a very important integration point between SAP Fiori applications and Neptune, as we can launch any external URLs from here, as you can see. So you can have within the same launchpad side by side one app powered by Neptune, which has all the offline capabilities, and another one powered by SAP out of the box Fiori applications. So once again, as you can see, this gives you a great architectural flexibility. And at the very same time, if you would like to launch a SAP transactions directly from in here, you can do that too quickly. And then we assign the policy to the tile. I will assign the very same policy which I just created for myself, and I will save this. So we are good to launch the application. Moving on to create a mobile client quickly. So I will take the very same which I was just displaying on my mobile. So I would like to add my tile to this mobile client. What we do in here is we build this mobile client for different mobile platforms with customized media and splash screens, and then you build this application as a PhoneGap file. So we start giving the ID, the name, the launchpad application. All these would be by default populated. You just need to provide your description to it. You can select your layout. If I select my layout, you can see that this is the exact picture from my mobile. So you can change your mobile screens, you can do iPad, you can do everything to be testing here. So you can assign a screen to it or background, you can assign some colors to it, whatever you would like to choose for. And then in authentication, you just provide what kind of authentication you would like to have. For example, in this case I was just using pin code and fingerprint touch ID. You can do single sign-on, you can do a Okta based authentication, form based authentication, anything can be done quickly. And then what you do is you move on to the device side, where you select which devices this mobile client will be created for. For example, in this case I have created for iOS and Android. You can even select Windows 10. So in one shot you can have a mobile client created for all the three platforms basically. So after this, moving on, we just provide plugins. By default you will have all these plugins available. If you would like to have extra plugins, you can do that quickly by selecting from here, and you have the whole library to select from here. So you can add any kind of plugins you would like to have. You can create push notifications via push, which is a 2-minute system you need to subscribe to, and then your push notifications should be enabled. And then in media, you just provide your icons or splash screens. Basically you can have different for iOS and for Android and for Windows. You can do that all in here. And you do a build as I said, as a PhoneGap file. Essentially what we are doing here is we are running the web apps inside a Cordova container on the device, which gives us access to the native capabilities by using Cordova plugins. And once you do a build and deploy it on the mobile, you don't have to worry about it ever again. You just keep on adding your new tiles or the apps, or if you want to have the changes done to your application, you can do that too. So let's start by adding our very same tile which I just created in here. So I will add this in here, save this, and we should be good. So now going back to my mobile, you don't have to worry about building this mobile client again, as I have added a new tile or the app which I just created, right? What we do is we just log out of it and log back in, and you should see the changes being reflected here. Let's go to our session, and in here, as you might have noticed, we have added the new app. So if I open this app, you will see the very same app which we just created just now. It is being displayed here. So as you must have noticed, this is very simple to do in Neptune. You don't have to worry about builds again and again. You can do just once and log out and log back in, and you should be good. Now let's add some barcode scanning functionalities to this app, and I will show you how quickly it can be done in here. Another excellent feature of this app designer here is you can select any of the place in your preview. For example, if I click in here, it will highlight in the left on your tree. So you don't have to fiddle around by finding where did you code this element, where did you select this element. You can just click on it and it will highlight in the left in your tree. So I would like to add a button for a barcode scanner right next to my filter. So let's search for the button element. I will drag this in here, place it in here. Let's give it an icon for a scanner kind of. I will give barcode. Let's take this, activate this, and you will see a button right away next to your filter master or your filter box. But we need to give it something to make it work, right? It will not function on its own. So that's again one of the great feature of Neptune. To make it work, you don't need to code it or anything from scratch. You have all the helpers available to you. Let me show you. So on the press event of this, something should happen, right? It should scan a barcode. So let's go to the press event, and when you right click here, you will see all the helpers available from UI5 side. So whenever you select any of these helpers, it will provide you with the pertaining code of it. So in this case, we want a barcode scanner. Let's take that. I will activate this, and you are good to go to use the barcode scanner in your application. So as I said earlier, you don't have to worry about building the mobile client again and again. As I have done some changes to the application, I can go back to my mobile, log out of it, go back in. Let's go to our application, and you are here. You can see that, right? The barcode scanner is now visible in here. So let's do some barcode scanning quickly. I will scan this barcode, and you should be able to see how quickly it can be done. By just the press of this button, I should be able to scan this barcode. And as you can see, it returns some value, right? Neptune is so cool. It was just a text which I have created a barcode of. It has multitude of functionalities it can help you with. You can scan a SU barcode, HU barcode, anything in warehouse management or goods receipt, anything like that it can be used for. So as you must have noticed, it can be quickly done with just a button and the helpers available for us in here. And again, I would like to give you some more features of this app designer. Like you have a global translation tool in where you can import from your Excel sheets if you want to directly upload some translations into different languages, or you can do it by Google Translation in here quickly. If you would like to have in different languages, easily it can be done via Google Translate. And then you have something called data flow in the app designer, which is basically, it helps as kind of a technical specification for developers. So in case a new developer wants to work on this very same application, they would not have to fiddle around by looking at the code and how it works and all that. It can be easily done by just looking at this flowchart, and they can understand that, okay, this was the list, how it's being populated, where it's being used, and all that can be easily seen in this data flow. Now let's quickly see how to make this application offline enabled, which is the biggest part of Neptune, which helps people a lot. So let's see how it can be done quickly in Neptune. In Neptune, you just have to set some parameters, like in in here. You have set init load, which you can set it to cache. You can set enable cache to true. You can set cache type to web SQL or index DB, and it's all done. After this, you just activate it. The application would be enabled for offline mode. Moving on to some different things like App Store. We have a full-blown App Store in here. You can download many applications, which more than 120 applications we have in our App Store, which can be downloaded quickly and can be deployed on your machines. This gives you a great head start in building applications. For example, in logistics, you have sales order application, for example, in here. So once you import this into your any of the instances like ECC, you will have the application and the class available right away to you. These applications are 80 to 85% complete. With just a simple tweak for your organization, you will be able to use these applications right off the box. You can even debug these applications quickly by placing some external breakpoints into your ABAP backend. You don't have to worry about how to see the what is being passed from the backend, why values are not populating in certain cases. You can just place an external breakpoint in your application in the backend in the class, and you can just quickly debug it quickly. Moving on to the last point in here, with the REST APIs, we have an excellent feature with REST API in our Planet 8, which was introduced recently. Now your classes can be exposed as REST APIs. What that means is, if you would like to consume the very old classes into other systems like SAP Cloud Platform or anything like that, or in our Planet 9 platform, which enables consumption of external REST APIs, it can be easily done and exposed from Planet 8 now. The very same classes can be exposed as REST APIs into different systems. That will be all from my end. It was very nice to meet you guys. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.